There are a lot of farmers like Mike out there. They want to farm sustainably to make sure that we have a healthy Great Lakes water supply for generations to come. But it's not easy. There's a delicate balancing act between running a successful farm and protecting the surrounding environment. A lot of focus is put on the fertilizer that farmers use. It can get on the crops and then run off into our fresh water supply and cause something called algal blooms. We've seen a lot of those in Lake Erie.
I saw the algae and it was really kind of a neon green. I was surprised at how neon it looked. It is very distinct once you see an algae bloom, and you know you don't want to touch it.
You better not touch it. That's an HAB, a harmful algal bloom. It could make you sick and kill your dog if you are both unlucky enough to fall in. Researchers at Ohio's Heidelberg University have been studying water quality for 4 decades. The team is gathering water samples on streams that feed into the Maumee River, which flows into Lake Erie.
Automatic samplers are set up to take samples 3 times a day, every 8 hours for an entire week. And inside that station is a refrigerated sampler, and every Monday we come out here and exchange the bases.
In the 1960s, pollution and algal blooms almost killed Lake Erie. After that, phosphates were banned in laundry detergent. Phosphorus was reduced and things got better. But in recent years, algal blooms have been making a comeback, and Heidelberg researchers think they've found out why. It's called dissolved phosphorus. It's said dissolved phosphorus is like a power bar for the toxic algae.
If you were to ask 5 years ago, dissolved phosphorus, everybody would scratch their head and go, what's that?
And they now feel that that's really the component, one of the main components in contributing to the algal blooms. We like to think that we know everything that's going on out here, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer term of sampling and database and data analysis to really start to see trends.
Though there are several sources of dissolved phosphorus in Lake Erie, scientists believe most of the problem comes from farm fertilizer.
The other ones all contribute, but the one that contributes the most or puts in the largest portion of the load is agricultural runoff. And so we're trying to get farmers to not apply more than they need and modify the way that they apply the fertilizer. And we think that pretty much those 2 things together will solve the problem.
This year, the Ohio Farm Bureau began promoting ways to better apply fertilizer using the right amount at the right time.
This farm has been in the family since 1890.
The Myers Farm is near Toledo, less than a mile from Lake Erie.
My great-grandfather is the one that first started this. My son's the 5th generation.
Bill Myers says he's been applying fertilizer the way the Farm Bureau recommends for years. It's just common sense, really. It bothers him that farmers are so often blamed for the algal blooms.
The people that will listen to these interviews or read the articles in the paper, the point they don't understand is there isn't some great big pile of phosphorus someplace that the government gives us for free that they say, hey, use all you want. It's expensive. It costs hundreds of dollars an acre to purchase and apply.
Best agricultural practices that reduce harmful runoff can be expensive. That's why programs like this one that help farmers grow cover crops in the fall are so important. Brett Margraf has been using cover crops for years. Still, this is not a common sight in northwest Ohio, at least not yet. The radishes aren't for eating.
Kind of small.
They're for holding soil, water, and nutrients in place over the winter so they don't get in the lake.
In theory, in the upcoming years, we should see a reduction in what we use for nutrients to grow the same quantity of crop.
Next spring, corn and soybeans will be grown here. Margraf sees it as a small step forward to improve the health of Lake Erie and maybe help his bottom line. And it works for conservationists who are looking at the bigger picture in western Lake Erie.
The complexity of the system, the fact that it is a whole system, requires coordination and cooperation. You know, there's a lot to do at the farm level, but at the end of the day, the impact on the sustainability of the system comes from a large number of farmers and a large number of constituencies working together to achieve sustainability.
The problems that we've seen in the Great Lakes due to fertilizer runoff have inspired some pretty interesting solutions. At Michigan State University, they're working on a research project involving drones that would monitor farm conditions.
Well, it used to be in agriculture
You know, it was all hands-on. You drove the tractors, you manually changed things, but now computers have taken a lot of the tedious stuff out.
Jeff Sandburn is a corn, wheat, and soybean farmer in Portland, Michigan, and his job has changed a lot over the years as innovation in agricultural technology has increased at a breakneck pace. And while not all farmers are eager to adopt this new technology, Jeff is.
Farming still is farming. We want to do the best we can with every year we get to farm, and most farmers, you know, I'm going to get maybe 50 tries at this, 50 years of farming, and I only get 50 times to get it right. So I want to keep doing a better job every year and improving what I'm doing.
But it's not just personal pride motivating Jeff. The stakes are much higher when it comes to farming.
We only have so much land that can grow crops, productive crops. And this planet continues to have more people on it. So we have to do a better job on the land we have and get more out of the resources we put in, get higher yields to feed more people.
Unfortunately, pressure to increase food production can have a negative impact on the environment. Over-fertilization and imprecise irrigation have created insecurities in our Great Lakes water supply, including harmful algal blooms.
I think farmers all want to do the best of the environment. They depend on the environment. Their field is part of the environment. The bottom line for most farmers, though, is what does it cost? You want to produce the most corn, soybeans, potatoes you can for the least cost and still maintain the productivity of your soil.
But what if there was a way to increase crop yield and farmers' profitability while decreasing over-fertilization and water waste? At Michigan State University, a team of researchers is piloting a project that will do just that.
The drone, we call it the giant mozzie because it's like mozzie is a nickname for mosquitoes in Australia. You know, I used to work in Australia. It's very, it sounds like a mosquito, but I use it to fly over farmers' field and detect changes in plant performances.
Bruno Basso, an Italian native, has relocated to America's heartland to pilot a new research project using unmanned aerial vehicles, otherwise known as drones.
When a drone flies, like this specific type flies over a field, it detects information about reflectance of light from the plant. So you are able to get an information for a very large area at a fine scale.
Commercial drones have been used by farmers for years to provide a bird's-eye view of their crops, and it's estimated that 90% of all drone use by the year 2025 will be in agriculture. But Bruno's drone does much more than take pretty pictures from above. This drone is able to survey large sections of land down to the millimeter, generating detailed maps which lend farmers valuable insight into their fields.
Everything that I do in a field costs me money. Whether it's the seed I buy, the fertilizer I use, the chemicals that are applied. If I can get the most efficient use out of that resource, whether it's seed, fertilizer, which fertilizer is very energy intensive, I want to grow the most crop I can out of that given unit of fertilizer.
But increasing the amount of fertilizer does not necessarily mean a farmer will see an increase in the amount of crops he is able to produce. And for Bruno, a uniform application of fertilizer is simply a waste.
So the uniform application that normally a farmer does, by definition, he overestimates this input in one area and he underestimates inputs in the other area. And so that's the important. One size fits all is not the case in agriculture because there is a lot of variability. So in the end, what does the drone do? Tells us about that variability.
Understanding field variability is one part of the puzzle, but for all that information to be useful, a farmer has to know what practical measures to take. That's why Bruno is developing easy-to-use software that not only breaks the information down, it actually creates a predictive model that allows a farmer to digitally test out a change in their farming practices without any risk to their yield.
You can simulate your field, the farmer's field, for the last 20 years of weather that has occurred, that is available, and you compare two nitrogen treatments, 100 kilograms versus 200 kilograms or more, and you basically, based on the model, which is highly reliable, you basically learn that 80% of the time, 100 kilograms may give you the same response as 200 kilograms, or maybe 100% of the time. So if you get that kind of confidence, why use it 200?
By not using excess fertilizers, we have less runoff, and the runoff goes into the lakes and streams, and then we have algal blooms, which cause eutrophication, and you kill fish. And you also, by having excess fertilizer, the bacteria in the soil turn these fertilizers into greenhouse gases. So by using the right amount of fertilizer, so you can maximize plant growth, but not too much so you get runoff, you can save the environment and produce healthy and efficient crops.
The implications of Bruno's research are clear. Smart advancements in agricultural technology could be the key to increasing farmers' profitability, decreasing the environmental impact, and increasing food production to support an ever-growing global population. And farmers like Jeff, they're ready to take flight.
We could be seeing a lot more programs like that one at Michigan State University.